Hello, my ferocious fangs. Good evening. Happy Friday. Welcome back to the Cavern of Secrets. Since it's Poltergeist week, I figured why not look into the film with the same name. Most horror movies have a background, and Poltergeist is no different. Although this movie does come with a curse, which we're going to get into later in the video. In Denver, Colorado, the Grecian Cheeseman Memorial Park was constructed in 1908. Now you might be wondering, what does this have to do with Poltergeist? Well, it has some disturbing history that may have inspired the film. In 1858, General William Larimer claimed the grounds from St. Charlestown Company and named it Denver. The only issue with this, the land still technically belonged to the Arapaho natives, and their burial grounds were not relocated when Larimer commissioned the Mount Prospect Cemetery, which later became Cheeseman Park. The bodies were buried on top of bodies as the cemetery continued to be filled for the next 12 years. There was a federal land dispute in the 1870s, and Congress determined the bodies to be removed from Mount Prospect in favor of building a park. They hired undertaker E.P. McGovern to move the bodies, and the work began in 1893. McGovern and his team were pretty greedy, and they found that hacking up the bodies and putting them in child-sized coffins would give them more profit. They also would sometimes triple up on bodies per coffin to increase their profit margins. While moving the bodies, McGovern and his team looted the corpses of all goods they believed would get them a fair exchange for high profit. Sometimes the team left body parts open to rot rather than rebury them. When news came out about McGovern's grisly deeds, he was fired, and many bodies were left still resting on the grounds. A new contract to move the bodies was never issued, and unfortunately that didn't stop the city of Denver and Congress from their work, and in 1984, Walter Cheeseman began his work to grade and level the 80-acre area into lush park grounds. To this day, approximately 2,000 bodies remain buried at Cheeseman Park, along with the spirits of the disturbed souls that may never find peace, supposedly. There have been reports of sightings of silhouettes of gravestones glowing in the moonlight. Others have found it difficult to get up after lying on the grass, feeling as though something is holding them down. Homes in the area have reported knocking on doors and windows, possibly previous residents attempting to reclaim their homes. The most famous account of a Cheeseman Park haunting was put on screen in the 1980 film The Changeling, which I wasn't aware of. May have to watch that again and see if I can spot it. This part of history sparked the premise of Poltergeist, but the Herman family haunting of 1958 inspired the haunting events of the film. Lucille and James Herman lived in Seaford, New York. While James was at work, Lucille was welcoming her two children home from school. Shortly that afternoon, the single-story ranch home exploded in popping sounds. A bottle of bleach in the basement, liquid starch in the kitchen, shampoo and soap bottles, along with a flask of holy water in the master bedroom, all popped their tops, spilling their contents everywhere. Lucille called her husband about the strange event. The couple excused this strange occurrence by the humidity and laughed it off. 2 days later, the same thing occurred again. By the third time, James suspected his son Jimmy, who had a fondness for science experiments, was at fault. Over the weekend, James watched Jimmy closely, and when the popping occurred again, James confronted his son Jimmy in the bathroom. He wondered if Jimmy dropped carbon capsules into the bottles during, around the home to frighten his mother. Jimmy insisted he did no such thing and had done nothing wrong. He was soon backed up when two bottles moved on their own in the room. James searched the bathroom for wires but found nothing. He decided to call the local police department, wondering if it was some prank by neighborhood hooligans trying to scare the family. He had good standing within the community, which led to his credence to his spectral story. The department sent over Officer James Hughes to the scene. He inspected and witnessed the popping phenomena, along with having a few bottle caps fly at him. Hughes contacted Detective Joseph Tozzi for reinforcement. Tozzi was a skeptical detective and didn't believe the events were paranormal, but had a logical, natural explanation. However, he didn't find that any neighborhood kids were at fault or behind this strange, odd occurrence. The popping continued in rooms no one occupied, and Tozy was never able to confirm the reason behind the phenomena. It wasn't until a porcelain figure, in full view of the Herman children, their second cousin, Marie, lifted itself off the side table and smashed into the floor, yet remained strangely unbroken, that they called in further reinforcements. Tozy and the Hermans stumped. They contacted the Church of St. William, the abbot, for guidance. Father William McLeod arrived at the home and blessed it with holy water. But the popping didn't cease. By this point, the media had caught wind, and the Herman home became crawling with reporters, fanatics, and curiosity seekers, all blaming everything from Russia to aliens and all matter of sin as the cause of Herman's disturbances. Time and Life magazine had even covered the story. A physicist named Robert Zeter visited the home with dowling rods and claimed an underground stream had created a strange magnetic field below the grounds. However, Tozy put together a geological survey to try and back up this theory, but no stream system was ever discovered. Instead, Detective Tozy was attacked by an entity. A 100-pound bronze horse statue had flown across the basement, hitting Tozy, in the legs. No one was in the basement with him at the time of the attack, so no one actually can vouch for this having occurred. Investigations continued, looking into every possible way to explain it. Scientifically, from sonic booms, from overhead aircrafts, magnetic vibrations under the home, change in water levels, but nothing could explain the popping, bottles, and flying objects. Helen Connolly convinced the Hermans it was a downdraft from the fireplace, having experienced her own mess of moving furniture that was availed upon blocking the chimney. When the Hermans installed a rotary metal turbine into the chimney, they were met with a porcelain figure flying 12 feet and denting a table on the other side of the living room. Things were just starting to get worse in the home from here. Jimmy soon became the center of strange events. Sugar bowls and ink bottles frequently lifted themselves and flew many feet before smashing onto tables and into the floor around him. On one occasion, a large bookcase in Jimmy's empty room toppled over without provocation. At another point, a record player flew 15 feet behind Jimmy while he was doing his homework. A globe in Jimmy's room flew at Detective Tozy, but soon smashed into a wall instead of hitting him. A figure of the Virgin Mary smashed a mirror in the master bedroom. Reporter John Gold witnessed his flashbulbs fly into the air, unaided, and smash into the wall. Soon, a parapsychologist was contacted. Dr. J.B. Ryan and his associate, Dr. J. Gaither Pratt, examined the phenomena. And they were actually notified or found out from Duke University that it was hypothesized that paranormal events, like those of this popper ghost, may have been caused by an adolescent with telekinetic abilities. Though typically surrounding young girls, 12-year-old Jimmy seemed to be the center of the Herman's haunting. Several days of quiet accompanied the arrival of the parapsychologist, Dr. Pratt and his colleague, Dr. William Roll. The Herman family reported several other occurrences of glass bowls flying, upended bookcases, and in 1 month, 8 days after the initial popping, the poltergeist would pop one last bottle of bleach in the basement, which Drs. Pratt and Roll witnessed. But then it remained silent. There never was a resolution to the Herman's ghost poltergeist. And it's kind of weird that it just stopped all of a sudden. These two historical events shaped the Poltergeist film and made it what it is. Well, I shouldn't say what it is today because it was remade today. And this movie is kind of old. It was in the 90s, I want to say. The reason behind the curse, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, within weeks of the film's release, Dominique Dunne, who played Dana, Carol Ann's big sister in the film, was strangled by her boyfriend outside her West Hollywood home. She died a few days later in the hospital. Actor Julian Beck, who played preacher Henry Kane in the second movie, died of stomach cancer as the film was released. Will Sampson, who took the role of a Native American shaman, died after undergoing a heart-lung transplant. Lou Perryman, who was a small part actor, was killed in 2009 by an ex-convict wielding an axe in Austin, Texas. And, of course, I'm sure all of you know about Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann. She died from cardiac arrest only 5 years after the movie's release. She was 11. People think these deaths are connected to the movie, but what if they are just pure coincidence, especially since a lot of these didn't happen right at the same time of the film release, but years later. So it does make me wonder if they're just pure coincidence. What do you think about the curse? Do you believe the Herman house was haunted? Do you think that Jimmy had telekinetic abilities that may have been the real culprit behind all of it? What do you make of the Cheeseman Park? Do you believe it's haunted, or is something else to blame? Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm curious to know, of course. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If so, please click the like button. It's greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to become a Fang and join the family. Stay tuned for next week because it's demons and possessions. If you don't want to miss those videos, click the bell icon to always be up to date. May you all have a pleasant evening with pleasant dreams and most excellent weekend as well. Take care until next time. Bye everyone. Sleep well.